The Clone War was reaching its decisive moment, and no one in Coruscant could imagine that something beyond Jedi comprehension was about to happen. In the silent corridors of the Jedi Temple, an ethereal presence began to manifest, invisible to most, but pulsing with an energy that transcended time and space. It was a force that carried both redemption and urgency, coming from a future that should never exist if things followed their natural course. The balance of the Force was about to be challenged in a way that neither the Sith nor the Jedi could predict. In the shadows, someone watched everything with eyes that had already seen too much, waiting for the right moment to intervene in a destiny already written. The Force whispered secrets that only the dead knew. Anakin Skywalker was in his room, unable to sleep once again, tormented by visions that seemed increasingly real and urgent. The nightmares about Padme had become more intense, more vivid, more disturbing with each passing night. He got up and walked to the balcony, letting the night air touch his face while the lights of Coruscant shone like terrestrial stars. The planet city stretched infinitely around him, but everything seemed empty and meaningless in the face of the possibility of losing the woman he loved. He clenched his fists, feeling anger and fear growing inside him like a storm about to explode. I need to find a way to save her, he thought desperately, no matter what it costs, no matter what I have to do, no matter what lines I need to cross. Chancellor Palpatine smiled as he looked out the window of his office, feeling the currents of the Force stirring in unusual and fascinating ways. He had carefully planned every move, every word, every seduction that would lead Anakin to the dark side over the years. But something was different tonight, something he couldn't completely identify, an anomaly that wasn't part of his meticulous calculations. A disturbance in the Force that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at the same time. He frowned, allowing his consciousness to expand, trying to identify the source of this irritating anomaly. For a brief moment, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, something that almost resembled uncertainty or apprehension. But he quickly pushed away this uncomfortable thought, confident in his absolute power and his perfect manipulations. Yoda was meditating in his quarters when he felt something extraordinary cross through the Force like a meteor cutting through darkness. It wasn't like the visions that frequently visited him, nor like the echoes of the past that constantly resonated in the temple full of history. It was different, completely unique, almost as if the future was trying to shout at the present through an impossible veil. The Jedi Master slowly opened his eyes, his expression showing a rare confusion in someone of his age and millennial wisdom. Something is happening, he thought with growing concern. Something that the Force tries to show us through paths we don't know. He rose from his meditation position and walked to the window, looking at the vastness of Coruscant with eyes that had seen centuries of history. A storm was approaching, but it wasn't made of clouds and thunder. It was something much more dangerous and incomprehensible. Anakin decided he wouldn't be able to sleep and that he needed counsel, someone who could guide him through the darkness he felt growing. He dressed quickly and left his quarters, walking through the nearly empty corridors of the Jedi Temple toward Master Yoda's quarters. The ancient walls seemed to watch him as he passed, as if they felt the weight of the moment that was to come. His heart was racing. His thoughts were a whirlwind of fear and hopelessness that threatened to consume him completely. As he approached Yoda's door, he hesitated for a moment, questioning whether he should really reveal his deepest fears. But the image of Padme dying in his arms propelled him forward, and he knocked on the door with renewed determination. "Master Yoda," he called, his voice laden with urgency, "I need to speak with you about something important." Yoda opened the door and immediately felt the emotional turbulence emanating from the young Jedi Knight like violent waves. "Enter, you must," he said, gesturing inside his simple but comfortable quarters. "Disturbed, you are, young Skywalker, since I can." Anakin entered and began pacing back and forth, his hands trembling slightly as he tried to organize his chaotic thoughts. "Master, I have been having visions," he began, his voice breaking slightly. "Visions of someone important dying, and I don't know what to do, I don't know how to prevent it." Yoda observed the young man with penetrating eyes, seeing beyond the words to the true torment in his heart. "Careful with visions you must be," he advised gently. "Deceptive they can be, show possibilities, not certainties." It was at this exact moment that the spectral form materialized beside Anakin, completely invisible to Yoda, but shining like a blue star to the young Skywalker. Anakin froze when he saw the apparition, his eyes widening in absolute shock and disbelief as he processed the impossible. It was an older version of himself, marked by deep scars that he didn't possess, with eyes that had witnessed horrors no living being should witness. The ghost looked at his younger self with a mixture of deep sadness and unwavering determination, and then at Yoda, who continued speaking without perceiving the spectral presence. "Don't say anything yet," the ghost whispered directly into Anakin's mind, his voice echoing only for him. "Just listen to what he has to say, and then I will guide you." Anakin tried to maintain his composure, but his hands trembled as he struggled to process what he was seeing. Was it really him, or was he going crazy, losing control of his own mind under the weight of his fears? Yoda continued, oblivious to the invisible presence that had entered his quarters. "Death, natural part of life it is," he said with his characteristic wisdom. "Mourn those who transform into the Force, we must not. Attached to them, we cannot remain." Anakin shook his head with growing frustration, his voice rising in pitch. "But Master, I can't just let her die," he exclaimed. "There has to be some way, some power that can save her." The ghost beside him made a vehement gesture of denial, his eyes transmitting silent urgency. "That's exactly what he wants you to think," the spirit whispered in his mind. "This desperation, this fear, is exactly what Palpatine is waiting to use against you." Anakin felt a chill run down his spine hearing that name mentioned in that way. Yoda sighed deeply, feeling that his words weren't reaching the young Jedi as he hoped. "Meditate on this, you must," he advised. "Clarity meditation can bring, answers you seek, perhaps find." But Anakin was only partially listening now, his attention divided between the Jedi Master and the apparition that only he could see and hear. The ghost approached closer, his translucent form glowing with supernatural light. "You are at a crossroads now, Anakin," the spirit said with intensity. "Soon, someone will offer you a power that promises to save Padme, knowledge of the dark side." Anakin felt his heart race violently. "Who?" he asked mentally without moving his lips, trying not to alarm Yoda. The ghost didn't respond directly, just continued. "If you accept this power, all will be lost. Everything you love will be destroyed by your own hands." "Master Yoda," Anakin said aloud, trying to maintain control over his trembling voice, "what if there were a way to prevent death using the Force? Would you use it?" Yoda looked at him with a serious and concerned expression. "Against the nature of the Force, such power would be," he responded firmly. "Leads to the dark side. Such paths always lead." The ghost nodded vigorously beside Anakin, confirming the Jedi Master's words. "He is right," the spirit whispered. "I tried to use that power, Anakin. I tried to control life and death, and the result was catastrophe, absolute destruction. You cannot imagine the price I paid, the price everyone paid for my arrogance and my fear." Anakin closed his eyes, feeling tears threatening to fall as he struggled internally with conflicting emotions. What if I already knew someone who possessed this knowledge? Anakin asked cautiously, observing Yoda's reaction. Someone close, someone who trusts me and offered this power? Yoda stood up abruptly, his small stature suddenly seeming much larger and more imposing. Very dangerous, this would be, he said, his voice laden with growing alarm. Trust someone from the dark side, never should you, young Skywalker. Corrupted, you would be, lost forever, all that you are, destroyed would be. The ghost placed a spectral hand on Anakin's shoulder, and although it wasn't solid, the young Jedi could feel its comforting presence. He is trying to warn you, the spirit whispered, just as I am, because I lived the horror of ignoring these warnings and paying the ultimate price. Anakin looked directly at the ghost for the first time since it appeared, momentarily ignoring Yoda. Who are you really? He asked mentally, needing to confirm what he already suspected. The ghost smiled sadly, a smile laden with decades of pain and deep regret. I am you, Anakin, he responded. Or rather, I am what you will become if you follow the path you're considering now, if you let fear and despair guide your choices. I came from the future, from a place where everything went wrong in ways you cannot imagine. where I lost everything and everyone I loved because I believed the wrong lies. The Force granted me this unique chance to return, to try to change destiny before it's too late for all of us. Anakin felt the ground seem to disappear beneath his feet as he processed this impossible revelation, yet somehow true. Anakin left Yoda's quarters in a state of profound confusion and internal conflict that threatened to tear him in half. The ghost followed him silently, his constant presence reminding him that something extraordinary was happening, something that defied all the laws he knew. He wandered through the temple corridors without destination, trying to process everything he had heard and seen in the last few hours. "You didn't tell me who will offer me this power," Anakin thought, directing his thoughts to the spirit. The ghost appeared beside him, walking through the walls as if they didn't exist. "Because you need to discover it yourself," he responded mysteriously. "You need to be prepared to recognize the lie when it comes disguised as salvation, when it comes from someone you trust implicitly." Anakin stopped walking abruptly, a terrible suspicion beginning to form in his mind. At that moment, his communicator beeped, interrupting his turbulent thoughts. It was a message from Chancellor Palpatine, asking to see him urgently in his office for a private conversation. Anakin looked at the ghost, who nodded gravely, confirming his worst fears without words. "This is the moment," the spirit whispered. "He will reveal himself to you now. He will plant the seeds that will lead to your downfall if you allow it." Anakin felt panic rise in his throat like bitter bile. "What do I do?" he asked desperately. "How do I stop this?" The ghost placed both hands on his younger self's shoulders, looking deeply into his eyes. "You need to hear what he has to say," he responded. "You need to let him think he's convincing you, but your heart must remain firm in the light, no matter what promises he makes, no matter how desperate it seems." Anakin arrived at the Chancellor's office with his heart beating irregularly, each step seeming to take him closer to an invisible precipice. Palpatine received him with his usual warm smile, that paternal smile that had always brought comfort to Anakin over the years. "Ah, Anakin, my young friend," he said with a soft voice. "I sensed that you needed guidance tonight. I felt your disturbance through the Force." The ghost was beside Anakin, invisible to Palpatine, observing every movement of the Chancellor with eyes full of hatred and regret. "See how he manipulates you," the spirit whispered. "Every word is calculated. Every gesture is rehearsed. Everything designed to make you trust him blindly." Anakin forced a smile, trying to appear normal. "Yes, Chancellor," he admitted. "I have many concerns on my mind lately, difficult decisions I need to make." Palpatine gestured for him to sit, his eyes studying the young Jedi with barely disguised predatory interest. "Anakin," he began carefully, "I have always seen you as more than a Jedi, more than a soldier in this terrible war. You are special, destined for greatness that the Jedi cannot fully comprehend." The ghost made a sound of disgust upon hearing these familiar words. "The same lies," he whispered, "the same empty promises he used on me, that worked so perfectly because I was blinded by fear." Anakin maintained his neutral expression, but internally he was in turmoil. The Chancellor continued, his voice lowering to a conspiratorial tone. "There are powers in the universe that the Jedi consider unethical, powers they fear because they challenge their limited control. But these powers can do things the Jedi would never dream possible, including saving those we love from inevitable death." Anakin felt his blood freeze, exactly as the ghost had predicted would happen at this crucial moment. "What kind of powers?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady and curious, not desperate. Palpatine stood up and walked to the window, looking at the city below with his hands crossed behind his back. "Have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?" he asked, his voice taking on an educational and seductive tone. "He was a dark lord of the Sith, so powerful and wise that he could use the Force to influence the midichlorians to create life, and even prevent those he loved from dying." The ghost beside Anakin trembled visibly upon hearing these words, terrible memories clearly passing through his spectral consciousness. "Don't believe him," the spirit whispered urgently. "It's a trap. Every word is a trap designed to hook you through your love for Padme." "Is that possible?" Anakin asked, forcing skepticism into his voice, although his heart desperately wanted to believe. Palpatine turned to him, and for a brief moment, Anakin saw something in his eyes he had never noticed before. A deep and ancient darkness pulsing with malevolent power. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider unnatural, he responded. He became so powerful, the only thing he feared was losing his power, which eventually happened, of course. The ghost stepped forward, placing himself between Anakin and Palpatine, although the Chancellor couldn't see him. This is the moment, the spirit said with burning intensity. This is the moment where everything can change, where you can choose a different path from what I chose. Ask him directly. Force him to reveal himself completely before it's too late. Anakin stood up slowly, his heart pounding in his chest like a war drum. Chancellor, he said carefully, his words measured with precision. You seem to know a lot about the Sith, about their powers and their obscure histories. Palpatine smiled, and it was no longer the warm and paternal smile, but something cold and calculating. Anakin, he responded, finally asking the right questions, finally beginning to see beyond the limited lies of the Jedi. Yes, I know about the Sith because I am a Sith. I am Darth Sidious, the master who has been guiding the galaxy toward true order. And I can teach you the power you need to save Padme, the power that will save everything you love if you just join me and embrace your true destiny. The silence that followed was absolute, laden with the weight of destinies being decided in that singular and crucial moment. Anakin took a step back, his hand moving instinctively to his lightsaber as he processed Palpatine's open confession. The ghost beside him glowed more intensely, his spectral form pulsing with urgency. Now, Anakin, the spirit shouted. Now you know the truth, now you can make the right choice that I failed to make. Palpatine noticed Anakin's movement and raised his hands in an appeasing gesture. Don't be hasty, young Skywalker, he said with a soft voice but with a thread of threat. Think about what's at stake. Think of Padme dying while you stand with the Jedi who have failed you, who never truly trusted you. Anakin activated his lightsaber, the blue sound cutting through the heavy air. You are a traitor, he declared, his voice trembling with emotion. You manipulated the Republic, manipulated me, orchestrated this entire war for your own evil power. Palpatine laughed, a sound that had nothing human about it, echoing with centuries of accumulated darkness. Traitor? He questioned, his form beginning to alter, his mask of goodness falling completely. I am the salvation of this failed galaxy. I am the only one with sufficient vision to bring it to true order. And you, Anakin, can still join me, can still learn the secrets that will save your beloved wife from inevitable death. The ghost touched Anakin's arm, his presence cold but comforting. He is lying, the spirit whispered with absolute conviction. I learned that power, Anakin, I learned and used it, and it didn't save anyone, it only brought more death and destruction. Padme died not despite my actions, but because of them, because I chose darkness instead of light, because I trusted Sidious instead of the Jedi. Anakin kept his saber lit, but didn't attack immediately, his mind working frantically. I need proof, he said aloud. I need to take you to the Jedi Council. Let them judge your actions and crimes against the Republic. Palpatine tilted his head, studying Anakin with renewed and disturbing interest. You are different tonight, he observed with growing suspicion. More resistant to the truths I offer, as if something or someone were influencing you in ways I cannot fully detect. Tell me, Anakin, what has changed since our last conversation? The ghost tensed, perceiving the danger. He is suspecting, the spirit alerted. We need to act fast. Bring the other Jedi before he escapes or executes some terrible contingency plan. Anakin backed toward the door, keeping his saber between him and Palpatine. But Palpatine was faster than any human should be capable of, moving with supernatural speed fueled by the dark side. He was blocking the exit before Anakin could fully react, his own red lightsaber now lit and humming threateningly. If you are not with me, then you are my enemy, Sidious declared, his voice distorted by pure darkness. Anakin assumed a defensive position, his Jedi training taking control automatically. Only a Sith deals in absolutes, he responded, echoing words his master had taught him years ago. The ghost circled around the imminent combat, his spectral form unable to interfere physically but transmitting encouragement. You are stronger than I was at this moment, the Spirit said. You have clarity I didn't have. You see the truth before committing the irreversible mistakes. Use that. The duel that began was intense but brief. Anakin defending himself skillfully against Sidious's ferocious attacks. But the young Jedi knew he couldn't win alone against such a powerful and experienced Sith Lord. He used the Force to push Palpatine back violently, creating enough distance to desperately activate his communicator. Master Windu, he shouted into the transmission. The Chancellor is the Sith Lord. I'm in his office. I need help immediately. Palpatine roared in rage upon realizing his plan had unraveled in ways he hadn't foreseen. You have ruined everything, he shouted, Sith lightning beginning to dance at his fingertips. Decades of careful planning, destroyed because you somehow saw through my perfect manipulations. Anakin blocked another attack, sweat dripping down his face. The ghost remained at his side, a beacon of hope and redemption. Minutes later that seemed like hours, the doors exploded open and Master Windu entered with Obi-Wan Kenobi, Plo Koon and Ki-Adi-Mundi, their sabers already lit and ready. Yoda arrived seconds later, moving with surprising speed for someone of his apparent age. Truth, young Skywalker spoke, Yoda declared, his eyes fixed on Palpatine. Revealed finally, you are Darth Sidious, master of the Sith, manipulator of shadows. Palpatine laughed again. But this time there was an edge of desperation in his maniacal laughter. You fools, he spat. Think you can stop me? I am the Senate. I am the absolute power in this failed galaxy. Windu stepped forward, his expression severe and determined. You are under arrest in the name of the Galactic Republic, he declared. Surrender now or be taken by force. The choice is yours, Dark Lord. Anakin's ghost watched everything, seeing a different future finally unfolding. The battle that followed was devastating and chaotic, shaking the very office to its structural foundations. Palpatine moved like a demon, his red saber cutting through the air in impossible and deadly patterns. He used Force lightning against multiple opponents simultaneously, his rage fueling his power to frightening levels. But the Jedi were many and worked in perfect coordination. Sidious realized he had no chance, that even all his power wasn't enough against so many Jedi fighting in perfect harmony. In a desperate move, he tried to collapse the ceiling over all of them using the Force, preferring to kill everyone rather than be captured. But Yoda sensed the intention and counterattacked with his own Force manipulation, stabilizing the structure. In that moment of distraction, Anakin saw his chance and took it without hesitation. He channeled all his justified anger, all his determination to protect those he loved, not into darkness but into absolute focus. His attack was precise and devastating, cutting through Palpatine's defenses at the exact moment Windu attacked from another angle. Obi-Wan completed the combination, completely disarming the Sith Lord. Sidious fell to his knees, finally defeated after decades of dark supremacy. It's over, Palpatine, Windu declared, his saber pointed at the defeated Sith's neck. The era of shadows ends now. The Republic will be purified of its corruption. Sidious looked up, his face contorted in pure and absolute hatred. You understand nothing, he snarled with venom. Darkness never truly dies. It always returns, always finds new hosts. Yoda shook his head sadly. Deceived you are, he said with millennial wisdom. Defeated today, the darkness was, and vigilant we will be, to prevent its return always. Anakin deactivated his saber, his body trembling with emotional and physical exhaustion. He looked to where the ghost was, and saw the spectral form beginning to disappear, his mission finally complete. Thank you, Anakin whispered silently, for saving me from myself, for giving me the chance to choose correctly. The ghost smiled for the first time, a genuine smile of peace and deep relief. You did what I couldn't, the spirit responded as he dissolved. You saved yourself, you saved the galaxy, you saved everyone we love. Live well, Anakin Skywalker. Live the life I could never live. Love Padme as she deserves to be loved. And with those final words, the ghost disappeared completely, leaving only a sensation of warmth and hope in the Force. Anakin felt tears stream down his face, but they were tears of relief, not sadness. He looked at Obi-Wan, who placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "You did the right thing," his master said with evident pride. "I am very proud of you, my old Padawan. You saved us all today." Yoda nodded in agreement, his eyes shining with approval. "Balanced the Force is again. A new future, possible now it is, thanks to your courage and clarity, young Skywalker."